Hey everyone, Garrett McLaughlin here, and in today's exercise of the week video, we're gonna look at the split squat. Split squat, aka stationary lunge, is one of the best lower body movements when it comes to running, because we're not just working on strengthening some of these key muscles, we're also working on stabilization and properly positioning the pelvis and the leg from an alignment standpoint. So one thing I like to recommend early on is not setting yourself up on the ground completely. The ground tends to be a little bit low, and I always tell people on this one, let's start from the bottom and work up, because we can set ourselves up in the best position possible to execute. The lowest position in the split squat or lunge is always the hardest. That's where people tend to fall apart. So if we set up at the bottom, we can set ourselves up right. So when we get to that position, as we hopefully hold some resistance in our hands and some weights, we're in a position to really be successful here. So as you can see here, I have a yoga block. Sometimes, depending on the height of things, we can use little balance devices like the Dynadisc there, an AirX pad, anything you have there, sometimes even a couple textbooks if you're doing this at home, something just to build up the floor a couple of inches, probably 2-3 inches or so. So somewhere around parallel here as I start this exercise. And then what I'm going to think about as I go through this and I set up for this properly is I want the front ankle directly under the front knee, and I want the back knee directly under the back hip, right? That's the position I'm shooting for when I set up. That's where I want to be in the lowest position to put me in a good, stable position, have a good foundation to be successful with this exercise. And then what I'm going to do from there is I'm going to work up. But what you'll notice here as you work up with this one is we need to be stabilizing the foot, aligning the leg, and holding the pelvis level. So in this low position, which obviously I'm already higher, still my pelvis is off-centered here, right? My right leg is forward, my right side is higher, my left side is lower. I want that to be level, fairly level and symmetrical side to side. I want to make sure as I'm lowering down in the split squat, I'm not constantly dropping this knee to the ground and losing, this is what a lot of people are going into. And losing a lot of the benefits in the split squat or lunging variations because they're not thinking about the alignment of the pelvis from a stabilization standpoint. So first thing I'm going to think about as I lift up is, can I achieve a nice level pelvis? And then can I maintain that so the pelvis, the spine, all of these areas are moving as a unit on the way down as I move through the ankle, knee, and hip, okay? So my first thought here, what I always tell people, start without weights before, because when we start picking up weights and we're rocking side to side, we lose this, the deeper thought of the stabilization of the pelvis. So if I get in this position here, ankles under the knee, back knees under the back hip, I'm set up properly. I'm going to just lift slightly, find my level position. I can monitor that with my hands, and then I'm going up and down into that stationary lunge or split squat position. Now, it's very common for a lot of people here to be pushing too much with that back leg, right? It becomes that, right? We want to think about pushing and driving up from the front quad and knee, and then to lower down, we're bending into that back knee as the pelvis remains level. So just to see what that looks like, if I come up, find level, push from the front leg, bend and lower into that back knee, back down. But as I come down, I don't want to come down and start to drop. Right? I'm maintaining my level position, pushing from the front, stabilizing the foot, hip, knee. My pelvis is remaining level and controlled as I go. Once I master that, that's when I grab a pair of dumbbells. I can hold the dumbbell in the goblet position. I can go dumbbell on each side from can add additional load of the dumbbell in each hand. One thing I see for a lot of people here, it's not uncommon to feel some knee pain at some point. It could either be the front knee, right? Some people have some patellofemoral issues, patellar tendon issues, IT band issues. I also see the back knee to some degree. That's the only time I'll change the position and the setup of this exercise. What we know with a lot of, through the research they show, you can change which muscles and which joints you're emphasizing more of in the lunge position by changing the length of your stance. The closer the stance, more stress is placed through the knees. The longer the stance, we're shifting more emphasis on the hips. So I had a woman last week who was having some IT band symptoms, right? Something she's been suffering with, so we're giving her some single leg exercises to address. It was on her back knee, so as her leg lowers down to the ground, she's feeling just that IT band right there as she gets into that deeper degree of flexion. All we did was work on, again, breaking the rules in that situation, lengthening the stance, making it much longer, and then still trying to achieve the key thing, stabilization, control. So it changes the angle at the knee joint, is a little bit more stress through the hips, and usually if you have some kind of knee pain, that's a simple way to modify to get around that. When it comes to the split squat, this is one of the staples in a lot of my strength training programs. We'll do anywhere from 2 to 3 sets of, could be from 6 to 12 repetitions really, but it's one you can work on really loading up pretty heavy. Its benefit is being more of a static stabilization and strengthening exercise than a dynamic. A lot of times I see people quickly going into what the next step would be, either a rear foot elevated split squat or a reverse lunge. And then once we start to be a little bit more dynamic, a lot of things come into play. Am I stabilizing the pelvis? How's my balance and stability? It becomes a little bit more complicated. So I really like to spend a lot of time on the split squat exercise, sometimes anywhere up to 6 months, progressing weight, making it a little bit harder by going from a body weight exercise to holding a dumbbell in the goblet position to 2 dumbbells to a single isolated dumbbell that's trying to pull the body down to the side, using different loading variations of the split squat to really get all the benefit possible. Because from a stability standpoint, when you're focusing on the foot, stabilizing that foot in the ground, aligning the knee, getting into a lunge position, very similar to overall running mechanics, and then finding that position at the pelvis. There's so much value in this from again, improving running performance, but also reducing your likelihood of injury to improve stabilization overall. But you need to make sure you're focusing on those key things. Big toe down, knee aligned with the second toe, pelvis level, which automatically, you look at my knee right now, my knee is actually pointing here. As I find level at my pelvis, my knee automatically goes forward. Too often on a lot of these exercises, we only think about, can I drive the knee out? So we're driving the knee out, but our pelvis is off. So let's focus on how do we get all of this stuff to fit together to work as a unit as we complete some of these single leg and split stance type movements. So that's it. That's the exercise for this week. It's the split squat. I hope you enjoyed the video today. If you have any questions at all, questions, comments, feedback, feel free to drop a line in the bottom in the comment section, and we'd love to chat about that with you. Thank you. Hope you have a great week.